Hey guys, welcome back to the Pretty Picture Party. It's me, Taylor. Today's pretty picture is going to be the Queen of Swords, and we are going to do a side-by-side comparison of the Queen of Swords in the Ellis deck and the tarot of the Starbound Phantasia. One thing you may or may not know about the court cards is that in addition to the elemental assignments that each suit gets, each court card gets their own. Kings, for example, are fire, queens are water, knights are air, and pages are earth. So if we take the sword suit, which is related to air, and we take the queen, who is a water element, we say that we have water of air, which would basically imply emotion of intelligence or emotional intelligence. Emotions can have a huge influence on the decision-making process. And if you're in a situation with really strong emotions, a lot of times they can really cloud judgment. On the other hand, if you're trying to understand a situation, sometimes you have to consider the emotional state of the people involved and not just your intellectual understanding of the situation. I feel like I probably need to preface this next part by saying that I don't necessarily agree with everything that Aleister Crowley did or said, but one thing that I can appreciate that he did was make a lot of different tables of correspondence, and one of those corresponds elemental relationships to the I Ching, which specifically lets us look at I Ching correspondences to tarot cards. If we use this correspondence chart, which can be found in his book 777 and other Kabbalistic writings, we see that water of air corresponds to lake over wind and is titled Preponderance of the Great. The Wilhelm Baines translation of this image is, "The lake rises above the trees, the image of the preponderance of the great. The superior person, when they stand alone, is unconcerned, and if they have to renounce the world, they are undaunted." So this image denotes an extraordinary time that must be endured, which is something that our Queen of Swords is quite good at. The trigram for wind is also representative of wood. So this image is the idea of a lake that has swollen up above trees. It's not always something that happens, but when we have a flood like this, a lot of times we just have to wait for that flood to recede. We have to endure. Thus, you would think of our queen as that superior person that has to stand alone. The Wilhelm Baines translation is kind of the, straight version of it. Another translation I really enjoy is Benabel Wynn's book. It's very rich, and one of the things that she points out about hexagram 28 is how it's the idea of a Kundalini awakening. Which is another subject I enjoy, but she talks about this excessive force causing basically a great injury with lasting effects, which this queen definitely is one who is injured, but because of that, strength arises. I'm not going to get super far into decanic astrology because my understanding of it is superficial at best, but in a general sort of way, you could kind of say that the Queen of Swords embodies both aspects of Virgo and Libra. Generally, it's between about 20 degrees Virgo and 20 degrees Libra. I think that there's a little bit of movement between there that kind of goes between like the time of like September 12th and October 12th. It would blend like diligence and meticulousness of Virgo with like the diplomacy and the fairness of Libra. And so those would be maybe the personality aspects from an astrology sense of how you could figure this queen. So we'll get started talking about the Queen of Swords from the Ellis deck. This was actually the first of the minor arcana that I drew, and after each queen, I would take the design elements and the color scheme from their cards and use them as kind of the cardinal rules of each suit. If we look at her crown, we can see how it's an object of intimidation and not an expression of glamour. She has 7 points to her crown, and within each point is a sword plunging into the symbol of a heart. Like the Three of Swords, this is the intellect conquering emotion. And she is one to embrace pain in order to win. The 7-pointed crown relates to alchemy again, and relates to her own personal alchemy, which is this alchemy of pain. We can look at her ears where we see that they've been pierced several times by these spikes. She runs her finger down the blade of the sword. She is like the charioteer who is also holding their sword by the blade. This is like not a sword-wielding brute. It's more of strength with empathy. The crossguard of her swords is a 3-headed crow, which represents the Irish triple goddess, the Morrigan, who represented or was an object of war, of victory or doom, of fear or courage. She also watched over the land. Her gown is studded like armor. Instead of bangles or bracelets, she's wearing wrist guards that don't have any metals that are precious or any precious jewels. Again, she is more about protection than she is about being a glamorous queen. And again, this is a queen that's been through some stuff. Other aspects of this queen are a little bit harsher. She's got her eyes closed. She's not engaging in any kind of intimate eye contact. It's like Justice, where she's judging on action rather than appearance. An unbalanced Queen of Swords might even avoid the eye contact of who she loves. If we look around her neck, which on the body is considered to be both an intimate and vulnerable place, we can see she wears a necklace that is made by the web of a black widow spider who has a very fearful reputation. And then the charm of this necklace is an Iron Maiden, which is a fictional representation of medieval torture, which could either allude to either her cruelty outward towards others or inner cruelty. These spikes could be pointing inward. She could torture herself. The background is this pinkish color, implying that she exists in a psychic realm. This queen exists within us. She is our inner self-defense, our inner protector. And then we leave the psychic realm and enter the cold blackness of space, which is the home of the Queen of Swords of the tarot of the Starbound Phantasia. If we look at her sword, we can see that it is shaped like the claw of a praying mantis. It is a blue sky with clouds. It is a gem of air, the intellectual psychic element. And the sword is held to the hilt by a praying mantis shaped piece of metal, the praying mantis being nature's meanest mom. And the handle of the sword itself has spikes protruding from it. So like our Queen of Swords in the Ellis deck, who ran her finger along the blade, this queen cannot use her sword without inflicting pain among herself, once again implying that she has an understanding of what it means when she wields this sword. If we look at how she's dressed, we can see that the insectoid theme continues. Her headpiece is meant to resemble the head of a praying mantis, but it also is meant to resemble the shape of a spade, comparing the spades of playing cards to the swords of the tarot. If we look at her epaulets, they resemble insect wing casings. And if we look at the leg portion of her gown, it is the segmented abdomen of an insect. And once we go up to her chest piece, it's a little more human, but we see that it is a golden rib cage. She's just not that cuddly a person. And within that is a purple gem representing like a hardened spiritual intelligence. Her skin is a lifeless white color. She's devoid of warmth. She probably accepts pain to the point that she doesn't feel much of anything. This kind of is a warning to anyone who embraces the archetype not to go too far. Her eyes stare dead ahead. This is our cold-blooded killer. This queen is meant to be more of a deadly instrument. While the Ellis deck queen protects you, this is one that you stand behind because she's weaponized. You just don't want to be in her path, but you do want her to be on your team. Both of these queens are hardened protectors of what they love or care about. They both exist as cautionary tales of how strength must continue to employ the heart, or how if we start as guarded, we have to be careful to maintain our emotional intelligence and not just become totally calloused. If you watched this far into the video, thank you. If you liked what you saw, please hit like. If you'd like to see more, please hit subscribe. If you have anything you'd like to add or any questions, please shoot me a comment. And if you want to see some more of my art, please follow me over to illustrations.net. If you'd like to buy either deck, you can go to illustrations.bigcartel.com. And lastly, I have started to do some print on demand of 8x12s. I am beginning to add the court cards to the print on demand store. You can find that at Spreadshop. I will have that link in the comments below as well. And again, thank you for watching. Happy reading.